NAC is back. We were at Farcon this last week. David and Chevy were not at Farcon. Lucas and Coop were at Farcon. We're all back at home though. We've been bouncing around, but we're back in the pocket. How are we feeling, guys?
Feeling lovely.
Back.
Coop.
We're fired up.
Fired up.
I'm feeling great after a long weekend in New York. I think Farcon was good. It was great to see the community, IRL, meet some faces that you don't usually see that are covered behind some PFPs. And yeah, I think it's a smaller, intimate conference as a whole, but yeah, it was a good time overall. Coop?
I mean, Lucas was getting busy out there. What did you get into this weekend at Farcon, Lucas?
Busy.
Tell us.
Oh, not much. Just launched a little hack, little pay-per-view.
A little mini app?
So yeah, a little mini app is what we did. But we launched a new mini app out of the Pods team called Paperview, which is effectively upload any image or video and allow and paywall it for any price. So very simple application, little mini app to paywall any sort of content at any price. So you can go as low as a penny, as high as $1 million. It's all USDC payments. And yeah, it's been a very fun launch. We're already learning a lot. We're already hitting some of the core issues that we need to tackle. But yeah, I'll just pause there and kind of answer whatever questions you guys got there.
I got a question. I love what you're doing with pay-per-view. What were like the couple insights that led you to launch? You were like, okay, this, and this. I'm gonna go launch this thing.
Yeah. So it pretty much just started with we wanted to hack something together for Farcon. Effectively to try and learn about where we're going with pods. So a couple key things there is like being very opinionated about why collect. I think one of the biggest pieces of feedback is there's no reason to collect this stuff. It's not really very clear to normal people. So trying to come up with a very opinionated way to answer why collect. And then the second piece there is like a simple payment pricing structure around USDC. Right now, Pods is ETH based and kind of using the old Zora V2 mint model, using ETH and like the 0007 standard. And we want to shift more towards kind of like what Rodeo has done with USDC, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later, and have just a very simple pricing structure and like incentive mechanism around collecting content. So the funny part too about pay-per-view is that you're not actually minting or you're not collecting content. The content's not actually on chain because it inherently can't be. But as a whole, this is just an experiment to come up with just a very simple application that for some reason no one was doing, that allowed us to learn more and inform us about where we want to go with pods and broader media as a whole.
I think what's cool about it, or what I really appreciate about it, is you're marrying natural human psychology with things that could possibly work on chain and do well on chain. Like the whole idea of like there's something behind this curtain and I can't see it, but if I do this one very easy thing to do, in this case paying like 5 cents or 10 cents, I get to see this thing and be part of what all these other people are seeing, is a very powerful psychological method to use. And I think it's a good idea. I'm rooting for you guys.
Yeah, it was one of those things that we were like, okay, we like the idea, and then just every day it just started compounding into like this, thing that just we felt like had legs. And it's still definitely a like nights and weekends project for me and Eric at Pods, but as a whole, we're just really excited about it. I think the numbers are pretty compelling. There's obviously issues with it, but as a whole, the concept of just write a caption, it's like sell me this pen. Right? Sell me this pen and a caption and see what you get with it. And I think it's a really interesting, like almost YouTube thumbnail clickbait type deal of like, can I get you to click this for a penny? Can I get you to click this for $1? And it's a really interesting game. And we're actually just, like 6 days later, we're just starting to see people like put pieces together and get a little bit better at it, and the caption writing and the content that they're creating and all that stuff. So yeah, I think as a whole, it's pretty successful, but there's obviously just, with any product, there's issues and stuff that, we got to tackle and all that. But
that product, dare I say it, could work well if you coin it. Could be interesting.
David, you sly son of a bitch.
You're a dog, dude.
For that product, it might be interesting.
Yeah. You're a funny guy.
The content's not on chain and like the metadata can't be. I guess you could have a tokenized representation of what that metadata is, but then I feel like you're just adding in extra steps here, in my perspective. But the goal was to just make it as simple as possible and like left curve it. Like why collect? Oh, because you get to unlock the content. And I think that was like the biggest piece of feedback that normies have given me already with pods is like, oh, so when you collect the podcast, you get to listen to it, right? And it's like, no, it's actually available to listen no matter what. And the collect is more of this patronage thing. It's like a patronage plus thing, and that's kind of where you start to lose people, at least in normies. And the best part about this, and I know I'm ranting right now, is this is by far the easiest application I've ever explained to a normie, and like the hit rate of understanding it is 100% so far, like guaranteed.
Well, and the name sells it for you.
The name is fucking gold. I will say that.
You hear the name and you go on the thing and you're like, I get it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you like it, David, because Coop and Chevy, they're the bigger skeptics here.
No, I like it. I'm just not the creator profile for it. I like it though.
This is my quip with it is everyone is a creator. The friction for this is Snapchat level, and everyone has some sort of private information that is worth paying for, and that you can just screenshot something and upload it and price it at whatever you want and write a really clever caption. I think it's like saying like, oh, I'm not a video creator and I don't upload to YouTube in 2005 or something. Maybe obviously not to that extent. I'm not like trying to say this is YouTube, but to say that someone's not a content creator or doesn't release exclusive content is just very one-dimensional about, I think, what the content types are here that you could be doing.
That's a fair argument. I just don't know how I would use it just yet. I think a cool feature was that like some apps have like you can't screenshot and like you get like a black screen if you screenshot.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really cool feature to add.
Yeah, that's definitely been one of the more requested features, like privacy features as a whole, how we handle leaking, like that kind of stuff. Again, one of those things that there's a laundry list of stuff that, immediately after we launch and you start seeing people use the app, you're like, oh, fuck, okay, we got things to fix.
How does it tie into pods?
That's actually exactly what I was about to say. The thesis behind it was trying to inform us what we're doing with pods, because people have always asked us, or creators have asked us for like exclusive feeds on their, on pods and all that stuff. And we're still unclear on whether or not people want to pay for exclusive podcasts at that scale. Obviously, like Patreon and whatnot exists. But I think as a whole, how this relates to pods is that effectively, I want to showcase that we're not a podcasting company. We're a creator economy, an on-chain creator economy company. And we're here to help bring media on-chain and help empower creators through this on-chain economy. And podcasting is like a very specific vertical that I think we can do really well in. But as a whole, it's a separate product right now, it's just a side hack for me and Eric on the team. And if it evolves into a fully fledged product, then it'll just be a separate product under the same company, in the same sense of like, Facebook has, or Meta has Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram and all that stuff.
Question for you. You were tweeting this the other day on how people don't see the value in podcasts. I assume that goes back into you thinking investors don't see the value prop behind bringing content and podcasts on chain. Would this opinion of yours stay and hold true if you were able to raise like a really compelling Series A or seed round?
I think my thesis from the start has always been bring content on chain and figure out the best ways to kind of empower creators through these on-chain mechanisms, and that has been the thesis since day one. Podcasting was just a very wide open field that no one was touching, and I think we can win on that very easily. Granted, I don't think it's the sexiest thing for investors to be investing in, or at least that's the feedback that I've gotten. I have my argument against that. But to answer that question directly, maybe, yeah. I think when you're kind of staring down the barrel of like, limited runway, you kind of have to take shots on net. And we have talked about that internally a lot on this podcast. So I think this is kind of one of those shots on net that we just wanted to take. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, we're chilling. You know, Pods is still kind of the flagship product. It's still onboarding creators. It's still generating money for those creators. And I still think that it is has the potential to become the most successful product in the podcast industry. It just needs more time.
I think I would agree. I only asked because I was put in a similar situation with Bello. Couldn't raise a proper seed round for Bello, and I still believe that analytics and like intelligence on your on-chain audience is still very compelling. Just the pie isn't big enough to capitalize on that, and the business model is not fitting for investors. Investors like tokens in this market. They like liquid ownership, and you're forced to fight with your own belief system and your own stubbornness as a founder of what you think would work, and then fight that alongside people who basically control your survival. So thankfully I found Blueprint where I equally feel very passionate, very, very compelled with whatever I'm doing, but was curious to hear how you see it. Yeah.
It's a good question, Adam. I just think we had just a limited time, you know, there was a shot clock right now. And I think we just have to take those shots on net at the end of the day. And pay-per-view was one of those things that we just thought was going to be a little hack, right? Why are you guys all laughing?
Because David took a bite out of his food.
Oh,
Jesus
Christ.
Christ.
All quiet, and then just heard the clang of the pork just very subtly on the mic.
It's like, come on, dude. It's like you whipped out a sword from your socket.
So slowly, too.
I'm starving.
Didn't think anyone would notice.
I didn't think anyone would notice. I didn't think anyone would
eat lunch on the pod. Don't eat lunch on the pod, or else you get
starving.
He's been a busy guy. He's been in a variety of meetings today.
I think it's a very honest take.
And I think, to be honest, I think the investors are wrong. You know, I think podcasting is a very investable industry, and it's just not the sexiest time. And I think as a whole, pods did really well last year. What would happen is that ETH went down, and we're priced in ETH, mints are priced in ETH, and revenue on top of that, went down 60-70% or 50% or whatever. And we were operating under this like profitability framework, and it's really tough to stay profitable when your revenue goes down 50%.
Retweet.
I could give a counter take on that.
Go ahead.
I think that Adam's point about investors just want tokens is very accurate. And I think that most VCs in this industry just underwrite things that have a very clear pathway to liquidity. If there's a unclear path to liquidity over a 24 to 36 month time horizon, I think that most investors are skeptical to invest in consumer apps because there hasn't really been a framework to follow in the absence of launching a token that has returned capital to investors in this industry so far.
Yeah, but you still have to build a successful product in order to launch a token and return that capital back. So it's
investors
like if we launch,
not true.
Investors don't care about this. That's first of all not true. So I agree with David, but they don't care about that. Like they don't give a shit about your.
I also don't think like a path to a token was like that was like a pretty clear opportunity. If people wanted to invest, and that was kind of the main thing. Like I don't think that was the deterrent.
I do think what's on your side.
I think me and Coop have an extensive amount of experience launching tokens. I think like that's not like something that should have been a detractor for investors, and that's not something that I heard.
I think what's on your side, Lucas, though, is that like M&A is slowly becoming a real possibility for crypto companies. I can't remember the name of the exchange Coinbase bought today, but Coinbase also bought Earn a couple years ago. Stripe bought the stablecoin company that now I think it was called Bridge, that basically just paved the way for them to launch stablecoins on their platform today. So I think for companies, especially consumer crypto apps that aren't like maybe a token doesn't make sense for them, but there are going to be companies out there that want to buy you potentially if you end up having the best on-chain podcast platform.
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of juice to squeeze out of the podcasting front. I think it's supposed to be a $170 billion industry in the next 5 years. It's just how do you survive those 5 years to get there, you know? And that's kind of the difficult part. And I think to the earlier point, the two main pieces of feedback I got from investors is podcasting is not venture scale and minting won't become a consumer behavior. And I think this addresses both of those things.
That's insane for fucking investors to say that minting won't be a consumer behavior.
Or at least minting podcasts won't be a consumer
That's some of the
behavior.
most
If we want to get more
psychotic shit
specific,
I've ever heard in my life.
I don't think it's like that crazy.
like,
if
Pretty
you're
rational
not,
take.
I would agree with Coop. Like, I think if you're not deep down this rabbit hole and you don't see this vision, I think it's like a pretty.
Well, that's the next point. It's like these people are not native. These people are not playing with apps. Peter tweets this all the time. All these VCs that invest in consumer, I would love to see the Rolodex of apps that they've played in and like their thoughtful perspective, and to also put themselves in the other shoes for a minute of what it's like to build this, or like the idea maze that goes into understanding why decisions are made the way they are from a founder's perspective, or what insights lead to a feature being built or behavior, or the plethora of data that exists on Dune, or the plethora of case studies that exist of creators making a living on chain. To just dismiss that is insane.
I think as a whole, that was maybe the most frustrating part, is like I felt like we had the numbers to be backing like this thesis, you know, that it was.
I think maybe it's just talking to the wrong investors. I don't know who they are. I don't know who they are, because there's only a handful that publicly preach that they're here for the betterment of the internet. And there needs to be a series of protocols and applications that exist of us co-owning the new internet together, like this whole kumbaya of what exists from the select few groupthink. But the rest of them are just literally follow-on checks and like additional capital that contribute to a complete cap table, a complete round that they see a brand name and they just commit. So I don't know, but there's maybe only so many people that actually can lead in that regard.
Yeah, it's funny because I think it's like a stated versus revealed preference thing of like all these investors now are saying we're going to invest in consumer, and like I just haven't seen the money flowing. You know, not even pods related, but like I just don't see the money flowing into consumer apps. You know, like no one's actually writing the checks.
You also got to keep in mind that there's a very real world where consumer apps are not meant to be venture backed in crypto. You know, you mentioned that you're looking at revenue and that you have the numbers to back it and whatnot. And that's just not the way that crypto investors have typically played this industry. And I think that for all of us in this call, you have to be conscious that there's a world where these apps are not meant to be venture backed, and they're meant to be built in a very different way from what we've come to know from the past ways that venture investors participate here.
I also think it's just like bad timing in the market to be raising, you know, over the past, let's call it 6 to 12 months. It's pretty tough, you know.
It's tough out there.
It ain't easy. You know,
what do you think, David? You got any comments on that?
Yeah, it ain't easy, David, but some of us can do it. Some of us can do it, you know.
Stuff out there, you know.
Especially if you got a little AI in the deck.
You got a little AI in the deck.
That's all you need.
You can get in the door, and then it's a lot of work.
I think there's two relevant tweets. I'm trying to find one of them. G Money tweeted comparing 90cc's. Yeah, here we go. Crypto's funny
because had some bangers lately.
This was May 5th.
Money on that.
This was May 5th. Here, I guess I could share my screen.
Both of you guys inspired me too.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas, you had a similar tweet. It's like crypto's funny because 90cc has done almost 3 times the revenue that Silencia has done in the last 12 months, but Silencia trades at a 2.6 billion FDV, and every VC I talk to tells me they don't see an investable path for 90cc, right? It's like you compare your revenue to a lot of these quote unquote network tokens, you know, that were so easily investable. And by the way, this could all be us. We might just be shitty founders in the eyes of VCs, and they just don't want to bet on us. So I completely take the blame for that. This is 100% a skill issue on my end, right? But I think there's also another perspective, like a rational, logical discussion to be made about what's being built, and to look at performance, and to look at what's actually picking up steam and what's not, and just investing in narratives for that regard.
I think the other truth here that's a hard pill for us to swallow, just being in consumer, and this was the feedback I got from a couple VCs when talking about that tweet, is like the reality is Celestia can be underwritten as like someone can make the case that it's a $1 trillion opportunity. and that the
Right.
fact that it's currently only trading at $1 billion is just a factor of like they're just getting started.
Right.
Where there's no consumer app that's ever gonna trade off the bat at $1 billion because
totally.
the one consumer app in itself, like by itself, can be $1 trillion on its own.
I think for the record,
and
for like
that's yeah, and I was like I was making the same argument we're making, and then got that, and I was like, okay, fine, like you're not wrong.
yeah,
No, that's true. 100% true. Yeah.
I think for the record, like the largest podcast exit in history right now is like maybe 350 million, 400 million, something like that. And it was like Anchor, and it was a hosting platform. So I just think I totally see it, or like I see the investor case and like why they're hesitant on that front. I just think that there's so much different with the form factor and the technical innovation and all in the pricing innovation and all of this stuff that would I would have assumed that investors would have not taken like the podcast industry angle so strictly, or like
Peter had a good tweet here where he said something along the lines of like, venture capital used to be to underwrite 0 to 1 investments in completely new market categories, and to be able to see why Lucas podcasting could be worth a lot more than it is today and not have such a like rigid mindset about it. And I think especially in the crypto space, a lot of the VCs have lost that kind of mindset and long-term approach. And it's like, is this an L1? Yes. Okay. We know how the L1 model works.
yeah.
We'll invest.
I also think like the last thing I'll say on this is like we also haven't seen a like exit on the crypto side of it that has done exceptionally well. I think Zora is kind of like the main one that we have to date. And yeah, I don't know the exact numbers, but they obviously raised at a pretty high valuation last cycle, and I think had some room to fill into it. And yeah, I think if Zora had come out at like $1 billion trading, I think we might be in a slightly different story for all of us, with the minting model and the media on chain or content on chain model. But
Here's a perspective though. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's bad that Zora is being valued at 100 mil by the market, because it gives us all a lot more room to grow into and a way more realistic pathway. I think that all of us have seen the L1 multi-billion-dollar valuation before and I felt a lot of resentment towards it, but I just think it creates an opportunity for us over the next like 3 to 5 years to grow into that new L1 playbook that comes from bootstrapping a consumer app that has real users. And I actually don't place any disdain or anger on VCs not investing in this category, because it's actually the logical thing to not invest in this category right now, because there hasn't been any case study that shows that it's worth your time. And so I don't know, it all kind of makes sense to me.
I agree with it. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense and that I have like disdain for the VCs. I just disagree with the thesis or like their reasoning, and I think that's fair. And I think I should be as a founder that's trying to build a successful company in the area that I'm building.
Let's keep moving through this agenda we got here. Kind of on the same subject, we got Doodles announcing the Doodles airdrop. I think this is a good example of a team that I believed raised venture capital last round. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
I believe they did.
Launching the Doodles airdrop on Solana instead of on Base, which caught some people by surprise. What are our thoughts? Let's go around the horn.
We knew the Solana thing. I thought that was like well known.
Yeah, I thought that was inevitable.
Yeah, we knew the Solana thing, but I think it still was. It's come back to the surface.
Yeah.
Well, I think
they're just looking at what Pudgy Penguin just did.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they saw how much of a successful launch they had. And this
Pudgy Chart's looking pretty good these days.
What's that?
I think Doodle has an incredibly cool brand and aesthetic that can resonate with a lot of people, especially younger audiences. And I think, candidly, the last 2.5, 3 years, they've been on a winding journey, and now they're doing this token launch. And maybe this token launch is the beginning of like the new Doodles, and Doodles can finally get to where the promised land of where they wanted to be. But I don't know. I see the token launch as like there's a Doodle token now, and kind of like the other big NFT project launches that have happened. there's going to be work to do for the next couple years for them to get this. Wow.
Yeah. Talk about us. Let's get back to 2021, 2022. Jesus Christ. Good on them.
So nuts.
Yeah, like that's going to be tough. Yeah.
But I'm saying this is like the new chapter that we're in because Zora raised at a way higher round than their token launched at. Doodle's token's not going to trade at 700 mil. And so it kind of creates this like new reset that I think's really healthy in a lot of ways.
I do think it's healthy.
And I do think it's actually a good time to be launching right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You don't want to be launching at the top of the cycle. It's like you kind of want to be launching in these periods where it's slower. Speaking of which, can we talk about the elephant in the room right now, which is ETH is up a whopping 20% today.
Yeah, after the epic tirade.
After the new Pope gets selected.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Pope.
I claimed a couple POAPs this weekend. Maybe that did it.
Is the Pope low-key an ETH boy?
He's an American ETH boy.
Damn, we needed that reversal though on the chart. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, we did.
I feel nothing.
I just feel like a little bit of relief. Yeah, no, I just didn't think it was possible anymore for it to go up. So
yeah,
maybe it's a dead cat bounce and we're just going back down. But
I mean, if you zoom out on the chart, we've been here before.
Yeah,
the Bitcoin chart.
We've been here for like 5 years, David. We've been just around the 2K area since 2020.
The Bitcoin chart is incredible.
Yeah.
I found I'm going to say this. I found a trade from, I was like auto buying Bitcoin, very low amounts. And it like had gone up to like 0.66 Bitcoin, I guess. And I saw a trade I did to trade 0.66 BTC for 10 ETH from like 3 years ago or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I bought Bitcoin in April 2022. And it's now like a meaningful amount of my portfolio. It's like just keep going up. It's crazy.
Damn, Punk's up to 53 ETH. Is that real?
Really?
I'm about it. Boys.
Can we get 40, apes to go up ever again? No.
Damn. Good day to be a crypto holder.
Yeah.
I actually think like we're still on track for a pretty good bull market at the end of this year.
It's possible.
Like end of this calendar year.
Yeah. The thing is it's crazy how quickly this stuff can just turn around. You know, we can be on the very beginning of like a 5-week just run up and like reversal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we could be at 4K in the end of June or something for ETH.
Don't say it out loud.
I'm sorry. I really apologize.
Doodles gets an airdrop, and Julian gets dropped into the Rolling Stones. Like that transition. Like
makes sense for him.
Yeah,
I'm happy for him, honestly.
Explain that, Coop.
Julian.
What do you know about Julian that makes him the right fit for this role?
He used to run Billboard. Billboard Dance is like one of the most popular editorial magazines. They have their whole like Billboard charts product that he was pretty heavily involved with. So I think the experience just makes a lot of sense. I think that Doodles, he joined the company when they were looking to be more of like a consumer facing business, less crypto, more mainstream. The Doodles team decided to double back down on crypto with the token. He steps out, goes into Rolling Stone. Doodles launches the token. If all goes well behind the scenes, bro's going to have a fat bag of dude. Happy campers.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the CEO of the Rolling Stones. Wow.
I'm just never going to forget, David, you were there, right? At like that keynote, NFT NYC, when they had like the fucking massive room that was like packed to the brim.
It's like an Apple conference.
Yeah, like an Apple conference, and Julian was just sending it.
Nothing like a 2021, 2022
NFT keynote.
Nothing like it.
Really wasn't. Honestly, though, I will say that the NEC Gala at Farcon this weekend had a semblance of good crypto party vibe. I was talking to some people this weekend. I said, like, you can tell how good crypto's doing by how hard people are sending it at parties. And like people at the Boys Club thing were definitely like turning up and looking good, and music was good. It was bullish.
Yeah. I thought it was a good party, but it wasn't an extravagant party, which is very different. You know, it wasn't like we had Deadmau5 or Cascade, or it wasn't one of those nights
Disclosure,
where you're going, private party with Disclosure. You're not seeing that yet, which I think is very healthy for the space. by the way. But yeah, just it was a good party though.
It was a good party.
This was at Farcon. That was at Farcon, that party.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Let's go to a little drama topics here for about 10 minutes, if that sounds good.
Yeah.
We got two on here that I want to touch base on. Zerabro and Clanker. I'll let the room decide which one we dive into first, but pretty shocking news for me. I was texting David. I was AFK for 48 hours in Calgary and Banff, hiking the mountains, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I was like, this is crazy. Like, David's like, where the hell you been for the last 48 hours? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm kind of glad that I was not here.
Yeah, it's good you missed it. It's good I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on this because
Is this Clanker or Zerabro?
I guess we're going to Zerabro.
We can do Zerabro.
Run it.
Well, I guess Cooper was talking about both.
Yeah, maybe it actually makes sense to start with the Clanker one because that was a Farcon specific situation.
Yeah.
Which objectively, hilarious way for that to unfold, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, you have this project, it's going great, you're building all this good reputation with the community, you get listed on Coinbase, everything's in a good direction. You're like, I'm gonna go to New York to hang out with some people and do the right thing as a project founder, which is be present with your community. Then you get sniped. You get doxxed on the spot. And I'm like, what the? I'm reading these tweets, how did this happen?
I didn't want to take the time to truly understand what happened. I understand that there's some type of fraudulent activity and that the founder Proxy Studio has been outed as being part of that fraudulent activity. But maybe someone could give the 1 minute breakdown of what actually happened.
So Proxy Studio had a alt Anon account back in the day, maybe 2-3 years ago, Gabagool, who was also one of the, I don't know if he was a founder, but he was at least a high up teammate at Velodrome. And effectively he had rugged their dev wallet or their operations wallet for, I think, 300 to 400K. And it just kind of rugged his reputation in the space, and he disappeared. And then just obviously a couple of years later, he reemerged via Clanker, and no one knew until someone effectively spotted him. One of the old Velodrome team members spotted him.
Is that you, Gabagool?
What are you doing here? And it's like, holy shit, it's Proxy, because I think everyone has their badge too, with their thing. I don't know.
So it was an IRL thing.
Yeah.
He literally happened because they saw his face.
He was getting out of the elevator or something, and one of the guys was like, what the fuck? What are you doing here? And then just unfolded from there.
Wow.
Can't hide your past.
Yeah.
Gabagool, is that you?
Gabagool.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of this opinion I should share on the podcast, but I definitely didn't know Gabagool. I only knew Proxy Studio, and my interactions with Proxy were all very positive. Obviously, I can't speak to past actions or anything that would happen in the future, but Clanker's dope. Everything that Proxy worked on in proximity to me was good so far. So I definitely have a slight amount of empathy for him in terms of, wanting to kind of rebuild, wanting to start over, doing a lot of things right by the books in terms of, from my perspective, what it seemed like. And then you just get smacked down and you're basically back to square one again. It was an unfortunate situation, to say the least.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing about it too is Clanker is pretty well funded through their trading fees. And if he was going to do it again, I think that there was plenty of opportunity for him to try and do it again. And the fact that, I guess they're only 3 to 6 months into the Clanker project. So maybe there was still...
My read on the Velodrome situation was that he had a shit ton of debt from leverage trading, and basically was just I need to do this as a Hail Mary to be able to not declare bankruptcy and fuck up my whole life. And so obviously it doesn't excuse anything that happened, but it was an unfortunate situation for one of the bigger base projects. So that was the first piece of drama I saw from the weekend. And then 24 hours later, I'm texting David and we're talking about our favorite AI project, Zerabro, which there's a lot of context there that goes down a deep rabbit hole. But I'm to David, I'm like, did this guy die? I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then David gives me the whole saga on that. And I don't know, David, if maybe you want to recap the Zerabro drama for the listeners out here, but then we can share some opinions after.
Recap it.
Yeah, we can recap it. Okay. If you go back to the AI agent boom, Zerabro was an AI music artist that launched, and then they leveraged that to turn into an AI agent launcher, like Virtuals and AI 16Z. It was called Zerabro. The founder was this guy, Jeffy. Jeffy was going on Thread Guy. He was with the LA Vape Cabal. He was going on all the spaces. Zerabro, I think, went up to 2 billion. Topped out at like 2 billion.
Not 2 billion, 800 mil.
It didn't get to 2 billion? Okay, whatever.
Anyway,
800 million. It went topped out at 800 million and came down, like many other things, all the way down to 40. No one had really heard from Jeffy and team. On Sunday morning or Saturday night, a video surfaced of Jeffy shooting himself in the head with a gun on X.
What?
Everybody's like, did Jeffy committed suicide? Da, da, da. People were like, no, this is definitely fake. Then on Monday morning, a obituary was published, I believe in the San Francisco Chronicle and in this thing called like legacy.com. Jeffy had such a great life. He went to Stanford, da, da, da. Now, a lot of people who thought it was fake were like, oh shit, this is real. Like, this guy actually killed himself from all the pressure and death threats that he was receiving after his token went down. And then there was some questionable wallet activity. This part I don't know as much about, but Jeffy launched like a legacy token upon his faked, now provenly fake death. And the legacy token was to capture his life and all his art going forward. And there was some nefarious wallet activity there. It has now happened. Somebody just sent me this while we were on this pod. The San Francisco Standard has published an article. Crypto founder faked own death. We found him alive at his dad's house. Life goes on for Jeffy Yu despite his obituary. It is a crazy saga. I at one point did think he had I thought it was fake, and then I was like, oh wait, shit, he did kill himself. And I think besides all the ridiculousness of it, at the end of the day, he's 22 years old. He had this crazy run up with this token. I think he was like put in a position that he didn't really know how to handle and didn't have the right people around him. And then on top of that, he was getting these like insane death threats, is at least what he's saying. And we've all had, we all run projects here. I wouldn't be surprised if he had an $800 million token that went down to sub 100 and is getting death threats and like people trying to find where he lives. And he felt like his only way out was to fake his death. That's really what it came down to.
Chevy's live reactions to that was so good.
Yeah,
You totally just broke that whole story to him in real time.
Oh my god!
It's got to be one of the craziest.
You never failed to amaze me, Chevy.
I genuinely was like, oh shit! I didn't really think it was fake when I was reading it. The thing that just made me scratch my head is like, if you just killed yourself because of the coin, why would you launch another coin? As part of your death. And I was just sitting there scratching my head. I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, got to do what you got to do to get out of
another day on CT.
Yeah.
Next topic.
On a less severe note, and speaking of RIPs, Sound closing its doors today.
Wow. That was a transition, dude.
I'm trying to get through this. We got 15 minutes. We got a couple more topics here.
And we got to get to this off topic. I really want to get to that one.
I just threw that in there. The off topics, I don't think are gonna make the cut.
You can make the cut.
Coop, this one, a moment of silence for Coop for a minute.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Cooper?
We all knew that this was happening for a long time, so it's not new news by any accounts. I think that it's unfortunate given how much time, energy, and capital I invested into the platform, but dream lives on. And I want to give Sound a shout out for being the first to pioneer in many ways what was a new generation of on-chain music. That was the start of a lot of this for me specifically. I have nothing but fond memories of all the artists that dropped on there, the teams, the songs, projects, etc. So I'm still very bullish on the team and their Vault products, and they're actually making some really big strides with like pretty established artists on that side of things. So I do think that Vault will still be successful, but it is unfortunate that I was at the expense of a product which we once all knew and loved.
Yeah, I really love the product, and I just wish he would just launch the token and decentralize it and just let it go.
Here he goes. Here he goes.
Now that is a good case for just launch the token, take a very minimal slice as the team for building it, and now you're on your new product, and it's in the hands of the community. Boom.
That would have been a nightmare.
Would
You
have been
think
nice.
so?
Yeah,
Nightmare.
dude.
Yeah, it would have been. It's nice in practice, though, on paper.
I think Sound had a great run, and shout
Mhm.
out to David for setting the example for a lot of early creators on building an on-chain audience and monetizing that on-chain audience. David's thought process and idea maze of getting to certain mint mechanics, to the sound swap and like having a fungible
TBT.
liquid, like all these experiments that he ran to try to figure out the liquidity side of like making NFTs liquid is kind of where we are today. So you got to give credit where credit is due. I think Sound had a great run. And I think I plus one what you said as well, Coop, like excited to see what they do with Vault. I just saw Kesha do something recently with Vault, which was really cool.
Nice.
And she was super hyped about it. I remember when Vault came out, they had a really viral moment, both on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. So I'm bullish on David regardless. I'm excited to see where they take it.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
the Knicks are up 2-0.
Hey,
Dude, come on.
speaking of that,
Who?
No, there's a tie-in. David's a huge Knicks fan. They're based in New
Oh,
York.
this is bullshit.
It's
David.
not bullshit. It's a factual statement.
Dude, what was up with that last night? What was up
Oh
with that?
yeah,
The
Lucas
Celtics-
is
Oh, right,
a
Lucas
Celtics
is a
fan.
Bucks.
There we
Oh,
go.
yeah, I forgot
There
Lucas
we
is
The
a
go.
Celtics had a nice, comfortable
One at a time.
lead.
Adam's
all
like,
right?
what the fuck is going on? What's the
And then,
who are the
and then in the
Knicks?
last 5 minutes, it's just an absolute fumble rooski, just nightmare for the Celtics. Be going like what, a 14 like run? They missed 14 shots in a row, didn't score
Yep.
points for like 5 minutes. And then Jason Tatum, he has the opportunity at the end, and he fumbles it.
Lucas, are you feeling like
Context.
you guys can
Wow.
come back from this, dropping 2-0 in Boston?
My honest take is we won the chip last year. So like, if we don't get it this year, it's showbiz. But I think the Celtics it's possible. They're a phenomenal team. They can do it. The Knicks aren't that great in reality. No.
Did you
it's
see that
possible,
stat,
but it's-
David, where it said the Knicks have been leading 10 minutes out of the 90 minutes that have been played so far?
Yeah, it was crazy.
the whole
It
series?
happened game 1 too. I was like watching it. I was like, oh, Celtics got a comfortable lead. I go and make some dinner. I come back and it's like a shit show again. I'm like in the
Yeah.
last like 5 minutes. I was like, what the fuck happened?
I love the Knicks fans videos are literally the funniest shit I've ever seen
Yeah.
in my life. Like people just rioting and doing like the craziest shit. And before I had I wasn't really a Knicks fan before. Now seeing these fan videos when they're up 2-0, it's like I want the Knicks to go to the championship.
Well, they haven't won. I don't think they've been in the final since '99, or even that far in the playoffs since '99.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
That is a long time.
A long ass time.
Speaking about losing, who do you think would lose a fight between
Yes.
100 gorillas?
Yes.
Wait,
I should have
100
taken this
no,
one.
this is written wrong.
this
bro.
is good. This is
You
important.
just made me read this incorrectly. It's 100 men versus.
Oh,
one
sorry.
gorilla.
No, it's 100. Yeah, 100 men versus one gorilla.
I wrote 100 gorillas versus one man.
Okay, so, and the men don't have weapons.
No.
God,
we
we're
watch
so
it?
late on this
1
topic.
minute.
It's insane. We're
It's
so
1 minute.
late on this topic.
It's
like
still
2 weeks
going.
ago.
It's still going on. It's still going on.
No, but
My
the meme video
MBG token
hilarious.
is down so bad. My MBG token is not looking good, which is how I know that
the meme.
We're
past the
like
meme,
2
the
weeks
video is
late.
crazy.
We're like 2 weeks late on the topic, but it's still a fun topic.
It's gonna be the meme of 2025, if not
It's
a
the Harambe meme.
top 3 meme of 2025.
Well, the top 3 meme. The other thing that we're late on in terms of talking on the pod is the Italian AI characters, which is my favorite meme of the last
I'm not
4
hip to
weeks.
this one.
Oh,
I'm
you guys,
not a-
you gotta see this. You don't know Bella Cappuccino?
Oh,
No, I don't.
so good.
I have heard of this. Yeah.
They-
So
you got-
good.
Go on TikTok and type in Italian AI characters, and there's just been a world of crowdsourced characters that everybody's built, and all these Italian people go on there and talk about the characters, and they're like, I can't do it because I don't speak Italian, but they're like, the Bella Cappuccina, she went to da-da-da-da-da's house, and da-da-da, and it's like these AI animations. It's hilarious. But
Bullish Hume World.
the bullish humor world. That was my other thought. But I've got the gorilla over the.
He's like
the
going to
100
VCs and he's like, have you seen Bella Cappuccino? Anyone can make Bella Cappuccino now using HumeWorld. We can sell these cards in HumeWorld. Imagine Bella Cappuccino cards. You could be a super fan of Bella Cappuccino.
You know what, Goob? I might have to bring you into these pitches because you're spot on.
I could be Agent 5.5 for you if you really want me to.
Let's go.
Last topic on the agenda, Rodeo, going to USDC. I am a big fan of this. I'm glad to see that they're starting to get some activity on it. Apparently, Rodeo is really taken off at Michigan State right now. Fun fact from Farcon.
Really?
Is that they have a little viral loop going in Michigan State where a bunch of the kids on campus are posting about it. Kids are making some money, some good stuff going on, completely organic. It's not like they really tried to like seed it or anything like that. So we were joking around that, you know, Facebook started at Harvard and Rodeo started at Michigan State. So let's see what happens.
Pay-per-view is going to be right down the street at the University of Austin, Texas. University of Texas in Austin.
Right down the street. What the hell are you talking
I thought you were going to
I'm
say
in
University.
Texas right
I thought
now.
you were going to say University of Michigan.
No,
Yeah, same. He's saying physically he's in Austin
I'm physically in Austin.
with his physical backup mic.
Yeah.
This is a great mic. All right, don't roast the mic. What I'll say on the Rodeo stuff is it's really cool to see as founder that's like thinking about pivoting over to USDC based mints that there is some traction and like demand that they're seeing on that front, and it gives me a lot of good vibes as we kind of make that shift over to kind of a simpler, newer pricing model with USDC.
I like that. Nice work, boys.
And
What a pod.
let's end
It
it with
went by
this.
so quick.
I know we did a really good job today. The last thing we didn't talk about, which is actually probably the biggest news so far, is that Coinbase. Oh, we did talk about it. Coinbase acquired.
Yeah, we kind of
We
mentioned
like
it.
offhandedly did it.
Yeah, well, that's a big one. 700 mil cash. The rest in stock.
Sheesh.
Pretty good. Pretty
700 mil with some Coinbase
Adam,
stock. at these
Anything you want to
prices.
say about your cohort, by the way? That wasn't on the agenda, but we should give you some space for that.
The cohort. What cohort?
I remember you shared
Off-season?
some news about cohort 2 in the
Yeah,
chat.
you got some good stuff. You got some jackpots. You got new badges. Talk
Yeah.
Oh, just more gamified features on the site. That's all.
Damn, don't get too excited about it or
I
anything.
know.
What the
Actually
hell?
talk about one of the
Like the
gamified.
layup.
We got a leaderboard. We got a leaderboard. We got a jackpot. We got incentivized campaigns native on the site for people to earn incentives for collecting alumni content. We built a whole entire flywheel natively inside the app using our Discord to experiment with some tests on incentives.
How does
The
the jackpot
experiment
work?
continues. Go ahead.
How does jackpot work?
So a percentage of all mint revenue goes into a shared pool, and X percent of top collectors basically get paid out at the end of the offseason.
Nice.
Oh, it's always
Um,
it's not random. It's always top collectors.
It's top collectors. Yeah.
So it's like automated airdrops.
Yeah. And we may or may not match the pool with our own funds.
Nice.
We may or may not.
They may
People
or may
love
not.
it.
Huh?
Do people? What's the reaction so far in the Discord?
People like it. There's only 200 people on the leaderboard, but we're minting. The mint.
I just love
continue.
Chevy. I swear you're just like living on your own little island over there, and I really do love it for you. I'm not gonna lie. He's on
You know
Zero
what?
Network. He's ripping mints. He's got a leaderboard. He's got a jackpot. He's hearing about Zerabro for the first time on this
He's still on
podcast.
DJ
I
Shane.
genuinely mean that.
I'm
I do love it for you.
I feel so disconnected from a lot of this drama, but it's a choice. I don't
Yeah.
care. I really don't
Yeah.
give a fuck. Like, it's such a distraction. It's such bullshit. I pay attention to the things that matter, and Zerabro does not matter. I hear somebody committing suicide. We talk about it in the chat. My condolences, and then boom, it's fake. All right, back to building.
Condolences. We got a jackpot. He says, kind regards. We have a jackpot.
The last thing I'll say on gamified rewards, I want to give a shout out to Toady Hawk, who's actually a Blueprint alumni. He launched Betterment, which is effectively a gamified minting where you mint, that represents a ticket or like the right to spin. And then effectively you can win up to 100x by spinning, or you can win up to 100x of the mint cost by spinning the little wheel. It's like a little wheel of fortune type deal. And
Yes.
every time he runs a mint on it, it's selling out within 20 to 45 minutes, like within an hour. And
good.
it's like thousands and thousands of mints, and the leaderboards are actually pretty enticing. Like the top collectors are minting 200, 150, 100 times, just spinning, just spinning on
Love
these
that.
wheels. And it's really cool to see that. So
pretty cool to see the alumni, what they do
yeah,
with the information that they get. Because
incredible.
Toadie's definitely not the first person to experiment with stuff like this. Like Blake got like a 40K grant from a different product or a different project to use for her campaigns. Naomi has been killing it on Warpcast. Sarah is now also like starting to pick up steam. I'm pretty sure she was the top engaged creator last week or this week on Warpcast.
Oh, cool.
Sarah Phillips. Just love seeing the caliber of creativity and the dominance this alumni network is slowly going to build out. And we love to see it. Shout out Toadie. Great job.
Shout out Toadie and all the Blueprint creators, and Adam. Way to fucking educate these people on the future.
The future is here.
Love it. Let's call
Send
it
us
there.
out, Lucas.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Not a Cartel. You can find all of these episodes on chain at pods.media/not-a-cartel. You can support us directly. You get a fancy little receipt or NFT of the episode saying that you supported us. And you can find us on all platforms: Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whole shebang. Fantastic.
Love it.
Actually, yeah. Okay. Great job.
Yeah. What?
I was gonna say the last episode with Jacob was also on Betterment, and it did like 1,200 mints.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's our most collected episode.
By a mile.
Nice. Great.
All right.
GG, guys.
GG.
Oh, yeah. All right, guys.